The calf crush works because of the ankle lock. Working in conjunction with your leg, it serves as a sort of high torque pinch point, imparting hundreds of pounds of force on the tibia and fibula. The tibia and fibula are some of the strongest bones in the human body, but creating this pinch point allows you to deliver enough force to easily break them, which leaves your opponent with two choices: tap out and admit defeat, or risk permanently losing the use of your leg.
The key to the scissors takedown can be found in the move's name. Throwing your legs around either side of your opponent, one high on the torso, the other just in the crease of the knee, provides you with a lever on either side of his body. It's literally like a piece of paper between two blades of a scissor, only instead of slicing through paper, you're using a combination of potential and kinetic energy to cut through your opponent's center of gravity. The downward force exerted on his gi pulls your opponent across his tipping point. Along with your body weight, you generate enough instability in your opponent to drive his body to the mat, like a child tossing around a rag doll. The hip throw capitalizes on the body mechanics of both you and your opponent. Thrusting your hips into your opponent's waist creates a pivot point around which his arm is the lever. With your legs between his, you've created a center of gravity significantly lower than your opponent's. This imparts maximum instability and helps you maintain control while throwing him over your hip. The throw, coupled with the downward force of gravity, generates a speed of 8 miles per hour, which can create more injury-producing impact energy than falling down. The throw, coupled with the downward force of gravity, generates a speed of 8 miles per hour, which can create more injury-producing impact energy than falling down a small flight of stairs. This move is kick speed and kick placement. Powered by the rotation of the hips and the strongest muscles in the body, the quadriceps, at the point of contact, the kick is traveling 25 miles per hour and can impart 550 pounds of force.
The wider the foot travels from the center of its axis, the more speed and power it picks up, more than enough to cause a knockout or concussion. Delivered to the neck, it can fracture the cervical vertebrae. The rotation of the torso is the basis for the strike's power. Because the torso has an effective mass far greater than the arms, its rotation can impart up to 400% more force to your target. And the last-minute rotation of the wrist can magnify that force even more. These alternating points of leverage are the basis for the move. Locking the hands high behind the shoulder blades puts you in control of your opponent's center of mass, which in turn negatively affects his conditional stability. Dropping the hands behind the lower back and driving your chin into the chest further disturbs his center of mass and makes resistance from this position nearly impossible. The application of maximum force ensures you maintain control while driving your opponent to the ground. The first elbow strike can accelerate to a speed of 25 miles per hour in less than a quarter of a second. Less than a third of a second later, the initial strike is followed by another, equally devastating shot.
By employing the bony tip of the elbow, these strikes deliver a double dose of injury-producing energy and can result in a broken nose, facial fractures, or a wicked cut.
Your body into the air, you effectively become a human missile, hurling your entire body mass into your opponent's gut. The force created by the body's forward momentum is partially absorbed by your opponent, which can knock the wind out of him or even crack a rib.
But the coup de grace is the elbow chop. Impacting with the head at nearly 15 miles per hour, a solidly landed elbow to the head's frontal bone can knock your opponent out, fracture his skull, or cause serious spinal cord damage.
The move works by using your opponent's own body weight against him. The first strike can land at speeds greater than 20 miles per hour and can stun your opponent with the same injury-producing energy as dropping a bowling ball from over 11 feet onto his torso.
By using his arm as a lever in conjunction with the leg sweep, you drive your opponent to the ground. Once he is on the ground, you follow up with a devastating strike to his face.
The secret to the move is wrist control. By rotating your opponent's wrist to the maximum extent of its range of motion, the bones of the wrist lock against the bones of the forearm and make it impossible to bring the strong muscles of the upper arm to bear.
Then, you can pull your opponent off balance and into a potent knee strike. The combined force of the knee strike and your opponent's forward momentum can be as much as 2,000 pounds, enough to dent sheet metal.
The effectiveness of the Pola Kaimao lies not in raw power, but in speed. By relying on your triceps to snap the strikes forward over the elbow, 3 blows can hit in 7/10 of a second. The final impact of the strike to your opponent's face can deliver as much as 175 watts of power, more than enough power to stun him or crush the cartilage of his nose. You then add insult to injury, firing one last shot into one of the most sensitive regions of the body, the groin. Pulling off the move relies on 2 factors. The first is to combine the block and the strike into a single action. This reduces the time your opponent has to respond to just 10ths of a second.
But the real focus is to aim your strike at the throat. Because as little as 76 pounds of force can collapse the larynx, the strike doesn't need to deliver a lot of force to be deadly. One blow like this and the fight is over.
The hyperextension of the elbow, created by pulling back on the locked arm, virtually ensures that he will be taken down.
The knee strike to the wrist dislodges the knife and further loads the elbow and shoulder. The technique can easily result in damage to the elbow joint, the tendons of the rotator cuff, or even a broken arm. The key to this move is turning your opponent's lower arm into a lever. By grabbing his arm during the initial attack, you set up the lever such that direct loading to his elbow joint is achieved. Once the elbow is locked and loaded, you can pull a much heavier opponent off balance by simply lowering your center of weight.
With practice, the ninja can hit his intended target from distances as great as 45 feet. At impact, that's more powerful than a Major League Baseball
This move
pitch.
is more about timing and precision than power. Instead of hacking through the limb, the first strike imparts an injury just a few inches below the elbow. The sword's razor-sharp blade easily slices through the soft tissue of the attacker's arm. This opens up his defense and provides the ninja a clean opportunity to deliver the kill stroke, a powerful shot to the top of his head.
The tornado kick is a study in controlled chaos. A quick spin confuses your opponent. Then one knee is thrust into the air, launching your entire body high enough to fire a powerful kick. The momentum generated by your body weight rotating freely, combined with a powerful hip thrust, creates a devastating blow of over 700 pounds of force upon impact. More than enough to permanently damage the hyaline cartilage that protects the larynx and spinal cord. What makes this combo so effective is the momentum behind it. Powered by the running start and the most powerful muscles in the body, the quadriceps, the initial kick lands at 15 miles per hour. The second kick creates 3 times the injury-producing energy as the first, delivering over 650 pounds of force. That's like taking a shot from a sledgehammer to the face. More than enough to score a knockout and rearrange some facial features.
The axe kick draws its power differently than most kicks. Once your foot reaches the apex above your opponent's head, your body's momentum, combined with the ease of downward acceleration due to gravity, can reach speeds over 20 miles per hour. That's enough to generate more than 550 pounds of force at the point of impact, easily breaking the nose or shattering the clavicle. The power of this move comes from the spin. The rotation of the torso, combined with the foot at the extremity of that rotation, generates speeds of over 20 miles per hour. By the time the heel connects with the solar plexus, it is traveling 60 miles per hour and transfers over 450 pounds of force, enough to break ribs and even damage internal organs.